Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Council Committee for February 2nd. Welcome, Council, and any listeners in that we have. Dean will do roll call.
You're muted, Dean.
Mover or seconder? Alan and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the Council Committee meeting of February 2nd, 2021 be called to order at 5:30 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Approval of the agenda.
No roll call.
Oh, sorry. Roll call.
Okay. Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Plow.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Present.
Councillor Wren.
Here.
Councillor Gauthier.
Present.
Reeve Robinson.
Present.
And Mayor Bennett.
Present.
All members are present.
Okay. Approve the agenda. We need a first and seconder. Keith and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Watt, second by Councillor Hughley, that the agenda of the Council and Committee meeting of February 2nd, 2021 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure of recurring interest? There's none. Laurie Dennis, no? Nothing yet?
Yes, we have Marianne McNeil in the attendee waiting room, and we have a caller with a number, but I'm not sure if that's Stefan. So maybe if we can just confirm that that's Stefan, if he could raise his hand.
Maybe we could let Marianne in and she could maybe confirm whether he's coming in by phone as well.
Sure, I will allow Marianne to speak now. Hi, Marianne.
Hello.
Hello, Marianne. It's Mayor Bennett. Welcome to Laurentian Valley Council. We were just checking to see if Stefan is online as well. Do you know?
He most likely is calling in on the line that you're receiving there.
Okay. So we'll bring him on in a second.
I've just requested him. There we go. Okay.
Hi, Stefan.
Hello. Good evening, Council. Hello, Your Worship. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year to you guys, too. Thank you for presenting to Council tonight. I know you're busy, very busy people, so we'll again welcome both of you and allow you to please go ahead and do your presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I would like to start off with acknowledging the change in command at Upper Ottawa Valley with the retirement of Dean Ducro and the addition of Marianne McNeil. And she just wanted to do a little welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just quickly introduce myself. So as indicated, Marianne McNeil, and I'm the current operations manager here at the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment. I've been with the OPP for 13 years now, and I have worked at Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment before, as well as the Killaloe Detachment and the Renfrew Detachment where I came from as the operations manager there. And I look forward to getting to know all of you more. And this is my favorite municipality because this is where I live.
Right on. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, we look forward to meeting you, preferably not when we're pulled over speeding, but at another occasion. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead, Stefan.
Thank you very much. And I know we're time sensitive, so I will keep it brief, but certainly let everybody know that if there was ever any follow-up questions, certainly 24/7, I can be reached. Obviously not by Zoom because my laptop is not working, but certainly on my phone. So thank you very much. Very quickly, and I don't know if Laurie is doing the slideshow, but I'll just go over the welcome message just to thank everyone again. Certainly the year has been, or the year past has been very challenging for us, as it has been for everyone. But certainly any successes that I'm going to talk about are certainly not my successes. It's the success of everyone, and it was only brought on through teamwork. And we thank Laurentian Valley and the community at large for your continued support. So COVID-19 has brought about some changes for the UOV detachment. Number one, we did have to reduce our access. Last year, we went to a full restricted. I'm hesitant to use the word closed because the OVP is never closed, but we were definitely a restricted access detachment at that point, which we changed our fingerprinting or criminal record check process, reduced working footprint. So that has occurred again. With the reduced work footprint, the fingerprinting for the criminal record checks is continuing as scheduled, but the reduced footprint is in place. I'm happy to say that there have been no COVID cases within UOV detachment. I can't say for Renfrew County, but certainly for UOV, we are very strict with our COVID prevention measures as set out by the policy and through the OPS. And certainly we're ensuring our members are taking every precaution that they can. I want to ensure everybody that even if there was a positive case and we did have to shut down a platoon, the OBP has set in place contingency plans to ensure that there's no public safety concerns that could occur as a result of that. And like I said, any points in the presentation that anybody would like to follow up, by all means, shoot me an email or give me a shout. The slide well, in front of the hospital, that was us thanking, making sure that we recognized and did our due diligence and recognized the great work that the hospital staff were doing. The next slide, calls for service. So 2020 in its entirety was a good year as far as, I mean, I always say cash is king and everybody wants to know, well, what are the numbers like? What are the numbers like? So I pulled the numbers for the last few years just to show the comparisons. I want to caution, as I have cautioned every police service board and municipality to date, COVID was a very, very strange year. When you look at, for example, motor vehicle collisions, well, motor vehicle collisions dipped drastically this year. And it's not because people were more careful on the road or the OPP did a lot more enforcement. It was because people were working from home. Lots of these numbers can be very easily explained by the pandemic. And your numbers, and I don't want to get into the weeds too far with the numbers. This is just going to be kind of a high level overview as far as the billing numbers go. Numbers that went up, we anticipated that. For example, when everybody started working from home, partners included, we saw domestics rise. And that's not just in one, that was in most municipalities. We saw neighbor disputes rise when all of a sudden you got two people that never really saw each other except on weekends in their backyard. Oh, hey, Bill. All of a sudden they're with each other or they're next door to each other every single day. And start, you know what? The snow that you're shoveling is really bothering me. And we saw a rise in neighbor disputes, not uncommon. We saw a rise in suspicious vehicles, people that are working from home all of a sudden. What is that car doing down the road? I've never seen that car before. Well, you never saw that car because you work Monday to Friday. It's there every day. It belongs to your neighbor's kid. But now all of a sudden it was suspicious. So all the numbers that we saw spike was not uncommon. All the numbers that we saw dip, again, easily attributed to the pandemic. So one of the two topics that I want to specifically dial in on, and we can go to the next slide because we just had the 2021 Bell Let's Talk Day. The picture there from 2020, you can see we're not social distancing or wearing masks, but certainly it leads into my next, which I want to tout as certainly a success. One of the projects that I wanted to, and I don't want to claim that I came up with the idea because I did not, but certainly it was part of my interview process when I applied for the job of detachment commander, was to implement a partnership with Renfrew County Mental Health. I have seen the success in other municipalities where you had officers and mental health workers responding to calls for service together. So I was very pleased to announce that in January of 2020, we launched that officially with a signed memorandum of understanding with Pembroke County Mental Health, where we now actually have a mental health worker working within the detachment alongside one of our officers. It's Sean Peaver, who is our community mobilization officer. Some of you may know him from his media work. So they proactively respond to mental health calls for service, and They target our prolific callers. So we do have people that do suffer from mental health illnesses, and they contact the OPP on a regular basis. And you know what? The officers go there. Sometimes they end up having an apprehended individual and take them to the hospital. So this now allows Sean and the mental health worker to proactive, before this person is in crisis, go meet with them maybe before they're in crisis and say, listen, here's some suggested avenues you can take. Instead of calling 911 and causing two officers to get tied up doing, an apprehension, going to sit at the hospital. This now allows the person to deal with a mental health worker, maybe getting put in contact with better resources, or maybe just provide them a roadmap on how to get the resources that they need. So this was a tremendous success that was promptly derailed in March when COVID hit, because the nurses couldn't come into the detachment anymore, and nobody kind of knew what the pandemic was going to be doing. I'm proud to say that we started that up in late September of this year, when things had kind of, I don't want to say settled, but at least plateaued as it came to COVID, and we know what we know now. The nurses are still not working in the detachment, but they are back working with our officers and visiting clients. So this is a tremendous success. And certainly, had you asked me 10 years ago whether we would have nurses and mental health workers working in a police detachment, the answer would have been unequivocally, absolutely not. This is a police station. I don't even like civilians coming in here, let alone a nurse. Fast forward to 2021, this is the way of the future. And I firmly believe this is how it's going to revolutionize how we do business as an organization. Any quick questions about that before I move on?
Council, any questions? I can't see everybody, so you'll have to speak up. No, I guess we're good so far.
Okay, fantastic. And certainly, like I said, I'm more than happy, because I'm very proud of this partnership, and I can only see it getting bigger as time goes on. The other thing that, and I touched on it briefly, was our domestic violence. Again, easily attributed to the pandemic. Partners that are put more in contact with one another sometimes leads to arguments, sometimes leads to violence. And I don't just want to be a detachment commander that says, well, yeah, domestics are up, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, anybody can report on numbers. The question is, what are we doing about it? So certainly, as a result of the domestics going up, we have started the process of getting a government grant, a very modest grant of just north of $30,000, but we're running that under a project called Project Unite. And what the intention of that is to leverage some technology that would allow victims of domestic violence, certainly as the restrictions are still in place and they can't get out, to maybe provide a statement. This will allow them to be provided with technology, i.e. cell phones, i.e. tablets, a little Wi-Fi service to allow them to reach out to officers, to provide better statements, to follow up with their investigators. This is a project that is ongoing right now, and I can't say that we've been successful with the grant. The grant application has gone in. It's been supported by the higher-ups in the OPP, and I'm anticipating success. So this is one of the things we are going to use to combat the spike in domestic violence, not just sit back and say, well, yeah, you know what, pandemic, people had domestics. That's not the answer. It's what can we do to mitigate that? If there was domestic violence, how can we stop it? How can we reduce it? How can we ensure investigative excellence when it comes to the actual domestic violence investigation? So that is a work in progress. Moving on to our community safety and well-being plan. So that was legislated, again, delayed by the pandemic. We were fortunate enough that we wrote a grant here, a successful grant, by the way, to hire an outside company to draft to pay him to draft the community safety and well-being plan for all of Upper Ottawa Valley, which Laurentian Valley will be a part of. That is still in the drafting process, but it certainly will be well in hand for the July due date. So that is something that I want to make sure Council is aware of. That we have been diligent in that, and I've spoken to the author, and he has assured me that things are well in hand. The last point, just because it is a something that always comes up is our traffic stats. And if Lori has not gone to the last or to the traffic slide, I just want to show now this. I'll qualify that this only goes up to November because when I printed it off, the December numbers were still not in, but it will be accurate enough for the purpose of my presentation. So the big four, we've talked about that before. That is the offenses that we refer to that will cause the most harm on our roads. So that's not using your seatbelt, the distracted driving, the speeding, the impaired driving. We do encompass other HTA a little bit below that. These are your other offenses. And what I'm happy to report is the total Big Four charges, a negligible decrease from the year previous, which is fantastic. And I don't compare our office to other offices because it's none of my business and I don't care. But when I do look around at the surrounding region and I look at their Big Four numbers, there were some significant drops, like I'm talking 50, 60%. So I'm very pleased to say that our officers still made sure that they contributed to our traffic safety plan in Upper Ottawa Valley. And that includes focusing on the Big Four, certainly the other HTA, a significant decrease to 35%. These will include sometimes your expired val tags, your expired licenses, which if you didn't know, the MTO is offering an amnesty where you don't have to go in and get your validation sticker. So that accounts for, I mean, there's lots of expired tags out there, but the officers are not laying the charges. If you go to the bottom of that slide, what you will see is in the traffic stops and the patrol hours. So these are important. So when I look at traffic stops, again, a negligible 5% dip in the number of traffic stops we did this year. And again, I mean, you don't want to blame COVID for everything, but that is pretty much what the end result was. And why did that happen? Well, if you look just below that, patrol hours, a drop of 5%. Well, 5% less patrol hours equaled a 5% dip in traffic stops. When you look at the very last section, court hours, a drop in 70%, that is not because officers stopped laying charges. That was because the courts effectively shut down for 2020. There were no trials. And this, of course, has now caused delays as everything gets stacked up because people are still, unfortunately, getting charged by the police. Well, maybe fortunately, but people are still getting charged. We are still doing investigations, and there is a bit of a backlog now that we are going to see when courts do get up and running. We have slowly started reopening the courthouse for trials. So we are seeing some movement in that regard, but that is the explanation for the 70% drop. That was it, with the exception of the last slide, which I just wanted to mention to the council and to the community at large that this is very much a partnership that we have when we talk about community safety and well-being. That is just, the police are just one cog in that wheel that encompasses community safety. That is everybody's responsibility. And certainly it continues to be my privilege to be the detachment commander at Upper Ottawa Valley. And certainly whenever this pandemic lifts, there's some great officers that are going to continue to do a great job for us. So I will open up the floor to any questions, and I think I was on time, unless Laurie's going to say otherwise.
Okay, thanks again, Stefan, for your presentation. Does council have any questions or staff? Jennifer and then Brian, please.
Hello, Stefan. Hope you're doing well.
Hi, Jen.
Just a question,
Likewise.
more of a statement. We saw that you got a new truck, a new OPP truck.
Yes.
So fantastic. That's great. The picture all over Facebook was Pembroke and Petawawa. No mention of Laurentian Valley.
I don't do Facebook, so I don't know what was posted. I apologize.
Just an FYI to maybe slip us in there too.
Okay, Brian.
I don't know. I don't know who posted that, but duly noted.
I guess my question was, with the backlog in the court system, are you anticipating many of these charges being thrown out with that amount of backlog?
Well, very good question, Ryan. And I don't want to speak on behalf of the courts because that's not my realm of responsibility. What do I think is going to happen? I do think you will see a lot of deals being made, but I don't think you will see any charges just thrown out. They have to have a pretty egregious reason to just blatantly throw out a charge. Certainly, they have to be selective if it gets to. We certainly have a case law now that refers to Jordan, where that is R versus Jordan, which is case law that we have to abide by. That if people are not offered a speedy trial within a certain amount of time, the charges are stayed, or if you will, thrown out. So certainly the court, and this is not our decision that makes that. That is the Crown Attorney in consultation with his or her boss. But certainly they do have to be certainly cognizant of timelines, especially in light of the backlog. Now, certainly, I don't want to say COVID is going to change all that, and they have to understand that the court's closed. I don't know how that would play out if the Crown said, well, the courts were closed for due to the pandemic, and then the defense said, well, case law says Jordan, my client was supposed to have a trial, and he didn't. That's up to the lawyers to decide, not the OPP.
Yep.
But it's going to be interesting.
Good luck.
Debbie,
Thank you.
Debbie, you have a question?
I do. Thank you very much. And I just want to welcome Stefan and Marianne. Both of these individuals actually attend the Emergency Operations Committee meetings every Monday at 10 o'clock for the county, and their participation is very much appreciated. So I just want to thank them. Couple of things I want to ask about. So I understood this past weekend, I believe it was this past weekend, the SAVE team was up patrolling the trails. I'm wondering, Stefan, if you know if there were any charges laid, because people are quite concerned about the speeding and whatnot happening on the trails, and particularly the ones.
Thank you very much, Warden. I can. Yep. So I don't recall the exact date, but you and I had a conversation back in the before the trails had opened in regards to snowmobile enforcement, if you recall.
I do.
So I did not just take that. And, oh yeah, thanks for the tip. We plan to have a very, I'll say, robust patrol this year in light of. Again, I keep repeating myself. In light of the COVID, and there was certainly lots of information coming out that lots of people were buying sleds this year. Lots of people. So, in anticipation of a increased presence on the trails, we wanted to make sure that we would have an appropriate response to that. So certainly SAVE is the lead in Eastern Ontario when it comes to snowmobile enforcement, but they are one unit based out of Smith Falls that encompass all of Eastern Ontario. So traditionally relying on them, I mean, they can give us like a weekend a month, maybe. So certainly we did not want to rely on them exclusively. So certainly we made it a priority between our detachment, Killaloe, and the Renfrew detachment. Between the three of us, we each detachment has snowmobile trained officers. So knowing that, we put together a plan where we would have enforcement on the trails every weekend in conjunction with SAVE. So I believe SAVE was up. I don't believe it was this weekend just passed. I think it was 2 weekends ago, but we had our officers out this weekend. What the charges that were laid, I believe it was 2, but I don't know exactly what they were, and I would have to pull that up for you. But I can certainly get that for you.
All right, thank you very much for that. And if I just have supplementary, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned, Stefan, that the patrol hours had dropped between 2019 and 2020. What is the reason for that?
No, that was the patrol hours in 2020. The patrol hours dropped. Could be, well, it couldn't be. I'm convinced it's based on the COVID. Less patrol hours. We did have certainly a peak in March when COVID first hit, where we had, I don't want to say a staffing crisis, but that was the peak where we had officers off, that everybody had come back from March break. And I think at the peak we had close to 20 officers that were in quarantine. So not because anybody tested positive, but certainly because coming back from vacation. COVID was new. So there was a very lengthy period where we had a very minimal staffing on the front line. Not to say that there was any public safety issues, because we had to supplement that. So in that case, we had detectives that had to put their cases on hold, go back in the uniform. We had our one of our court officers come back. We had one of our media officer get kitted up and come back to uniform, because at the end of the day, that's the priority, is the front line and public safety. So some of these investigations did have to get put on hold. Over the course of since March, we have periodically had officers that have said, oh, you know what, I am symptomatic. They've had to go off. They've had to self-isolate. Many officers, nobody has tested positive, but throughout the year, we just had an officer that went off this last weekend. Tested, the test came back on Monday. They're fine, thank goodness. But I mean, throughout the year, we've seen, I'm going to say, a lot more absences. And again, erring on the side of caution, if they're symptomatic, we have a process in place. They have to go, they have to get tested. Sometimes the swabs come back within 48 hours. One officer, it was 10 days. So there's 10 days this officer is sitting at home idle until his results come back. So a 5% reduction in patrols, I'm going to say it was due to COVID and absences as a result of COVID.
Thank you.
Stefan, could that also be that you had mentioned earlier that your graphs that you're presenting to us tonight are for 11 months? Is that 11 months as well of the 12 months? And your December isn't in there yet? So 10% would take.
That number's been pretty consistent throughout the year, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Those numbers, well, hang on a second. They've been consistent since March, since COVID hit. The reduction.
Okay.
That they will change very much.
Alan has a question, please.
How are the staffing levels in the detachment the last year or so?
At the start of the year, we were at 80%. Right now, we're hovering at around 76%, which is pretty much where we hover. When I first got here, that we were extremely low, but we are much better now.
Yeah. Is that a concern to be at that level, or?
Concern for whom? For the public?
Yes.
Or for me?
Both, I guess.
For the public, no. For at no point in time is public safety ever compromised. Certainly, would I like to be at 100%? I would love it, but there isn't a detachment in Ontario that's sitting at 100%.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Maybe Stefan, I can maybe make a comment from the warden. I was out on the trails on the weekend myself, and I certainly saw presence of the OPP. And we were stopped, and they were very pleasant and very thorough. So they're certainly doing their job.
Thank you.
They're doing their job, and it's great to see them out there for everybody, because not all of the trails are a lot of them are privately owned. So it's good to see them out there, and people respect that, which is a big part of it.
Outstanding. I'm very pleased to hear that, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you again, Stefan. If there's no more questions, certainly your work on mental health and your project Unite is a pleasant thing to see, and I wish you the best of luck with those projects to continue. Hopefully we have better times down the road, getting COVID under control, and maybe we'll get you and Marianne out to the office at some point.
I would love that, and we are overdue for our coffee. And certainly anybody that had any follow-up questions or concerns, please don't hesitate, call or email.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Stefan, and thank you, Marianne. You both stay safe and look after us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, evening.
Okay.
Bye now.
Okay. So under planning, there's no planning meeting?
No.
Move right down to subcommittees. Pembroke Area Airport.
Nothing to report right now. Things are still very quiet. We're, like everybody else, trying to deal with the pandemic.
Okay. Emergency management, Laurie?
Just that we'll be expecting shortly to get our confirmation back from the province that we were compliant for 2020. I have verbally had that confirmed that they did review all of the submissions that we gave, and we're compliant, so that's good. And then we will be having another program committee meeting next month with some presentations as well.
Good, thank you. Under corporate services, occupational health, I believe this is Charlene.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. So this is the occupational health and safety policy. Background is that it is one of the required policies by Ontario law. The policy basically states the employer's commitment to protect employees' health and safety and to cooperate with workplace parties such as employees, supervisors, the Joint Health and Safety Committee, or Health and Safety Representative to ensure a safe work environment. So it just outlines the general responsibilities of the employers, of other workplace parties, and it also states that the policy must be endorsed by council and upper management. So this policy is taken from the Renfrew County policies with some slight changes. Obviously, this changes refer to the township instead of the county, as well as the duties of
CAO.
The CAO, but it's really the duties of the employer. The duties of the chief administrative officer. So it's just it's adjusted to reflect our department sort of thing and how we work things, and the fact that we don't need the CAO to appoint somebody because we don't have over a certain amount of employees within Laurentian Valley Township as compared to the County of Renfrew. So we've made all of those changes. Just looking to see if there's any questions or any concerns.
Brian. Oh, your mic is off, Brian.
My only concern was with regards to number 7 and 8. And my concern with that is that I'm wondering if it should say that it should be in writing and not just discussion held, because the big thing with any of these is documentation, and have everything in writing.
I think if there is a problem with something, then obviously they have to put that in writing under the discipline policy. But if it's just to pass on the safety information, I believe the meeting is fine, and it is the same as the county. But yes, they would be provided with any documentation that is required under the safety. But, as an example, Mark wouldn't have to put in writing that, they have to wear their safety goggles when dealing with certain things, or I don't know what else, but the employees don't have a place to store information with regards to a filing system for themselves. So I think if, it's documented by the department head that a safety meeting was held and who was in attendance, I think that should be fine. If council's not fine with that, I can certainly make that change.
Okay with that,
and
Brian?
I guess as long as it's documented at some point that the conversation happened or they were told about changes or.
Yeah, normally there would be minutes of the meeting, so they would be incorporated into the minutes.
Alan, and then our fire chief.
Yeah, Brian is right. The more you have in writing, the better. And that's what the Ontario Board of Labor want to see whenever they come in to inspect any of this stuff. So as long as it's documented in a meeting and it was discussed about PPE or whatever the discussion was, and it's documented in the minutes, as long as it's documented, that's what they're looking for.
Okay. Tim.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alan, on that. My question is, who is the representative for the employees? Can you, because because
Well, we're just in the midst of doing that. We're putting a committee together. We'll be talking about, I mean, there's some that are identified on the public works side now. I think there's a couple of gentlemen there. Currently, Mark is the representative for staff on the management side, but that's all being looked at when we do establish the committee. That'll be all put back in place.
okay.
Okay, Dean, we have a motion.
I do.
First and seconder. Keith and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Watt, second by Councillor Goche, that the Corporate Service Committee of Corporation of Township of Laurentian Valley review the HRG 01 Occupational Health and Safety Policy and forward to the next council meeting for passing.
All in favor? Carried. Fire Department. Fire Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Tim?
Oh, trying to stay warm and stay well, you know.
You haven't ruined your back at all flooding?
No, the back's getting better, yeah. One of the chiropractic course. I'm getting better.
Any questions for Tim tonight? Keith, sorry.
Just the second call. The call went into the city. Did the city respond, or did they just forward the call to Laurentian Valley?
Yeah, no, they responded and then they realized it was out of their area. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they responded and realized it was out of their area, so they called us. So, yeah. There's been burning going on there for about the last month, and the ironic thing was that the fellow phoned me like not 10 minutes before the call came in that he was going to be burning, and of course then the call came. But it's been good, really. I'm really happy that it's turned out the way it is, because he has been burning almost every day for a month, and we've only had that one little call. So
Yes.
In an instance like that, then, like, should they be notified that in that field they're going to be burning, and if you get a call, just pass it on to us? Or
well, the problem is that due to the liability, we have to respond. But if we know what's going on, at least we can we have a better idea where we're going and we don't have to send everything and you know, like as if it comes as a major. But no, there's not. As long as they call 911, we don't have any choice but to respond. But at least if we know, we can control it better. That's all.
I guess, Councillor Watt, I guess the situation here is, unfortunately, when the caller comes in, he states where he is in whatever district, and then 911 has to dissect what township is. And in this case, they would have sent it to the city, which is unfortunate. But the city, like Tim's chief says, is that they need to respond. It's a call. They go once they find out what's happening, and once they can secure the scene, then they, you know, either we're on our way or they call us off. I mean, it's just they need to respond themselves. It's no different than if we got the call, we'd be going into the city. But we might say before we got there, saying, no, that's not ours, call right away. But if they're not sure or whatever, then they're on the move kind of thing. But they would leave as soon as they realize that, and it's secure enough that we're there or whatever the case is.
right.
The person that called it in was actually driving down by KI, and they looked over and seen smoke, so they called it in as they thought it was behind the mall is what they called it in. And so that's how things get.
Yeah, and from there, because it'd be up on the hill, you'd see the smoke, right? So
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Anything else for Fire Chief Tim? Since we're on that subject, maybe we'll just bring up the date that Dean and myself and Tim have met with the city of Pembroke regarding the aerial truck. And Tim is doing some background work on it. We've had a offer with the city, and Tim is just reviewing it right now. And we should have a report back for maybe Dean the next meeting.
Next meeting or next committee meeting, one or the other. Yep.
Okay. Yes, Tim.
I just have one thing. I just want to mention that we are looking at the new VAs, of course, and I just found out today that maybe this goes out to Debbie, that there is another fire department looking at VAs, and I'm trying to get on that order so that we can help cut the costs a little bit. The only thing is we'll have to look at our procurement situation, and I'm not sure if it'll fit in that, if it will work. But anyway, I'm working on that, trying to save some money, that's for sure.
Good. I thought maybe your direction was going to be Charlene looking for some extra money in your budget, but that's good that you didn't ask that.
The lowest budget? Okay.
Okay, Tim, thanks very much. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, take
care. Dean, Joint Recreation.
Just an information item. We have scheduled a meeting, and it is Councillor Ugly and Councillor Plow and the mayor will be hopefully attending on Monday at 4 o'clock. So that's the Joint Recreation meeting. And we are chairing it, so I'm not sure who it is, but we'll pick a chair, and it's our year to chair them. So.
Okay. And I have no idea. All I know is from our last conversation, our last rec meeting, that they were going to call another meeting when they had more information regarding their pool. And I'm sure most of you have seen the articles in the paper that they're moving forward, at least with the type of way that they're going to start the building of it, or engineering of it, I guess. Anyways, we'll have more information for you at the next meeting. Festival Hall.
Nothing to report.
Nothing there. Pembroke Library. We
January 21st, we had our last board meeting. New chair was voted in, and you're looking at him.
Congrats.
Just wanted to share that the library is still operational. They're doing contactless curbside pickup and drop off. And it has been quite active throughout the whole COVID season. I guess one of the new projects they're looking at is an outreach to maybe for some of the people in Laurentian Valley, if they could bring books out to Shady Nook, if that would help, or even deliver some close by for people looking for it. Just trying to assist the membership as much as possible. COVID hasn't been all bad. There's been a lot of renovations going on in the library. The children's section completely redone, new shelving, paint job throughout. It's coming along very well. That's it.
Good. I also noticed attached is the review for 2020 annual report. I thought it was very well done. Keith, you could pass that back on to your CEO.
I will. Thank you.
Debbie, please.
Thank you. And I want to add to that too. I thought the review was excellent. I really enjoyed it. And the stats that they're providing are very, very important, I think, for us to know about. And they couldn't have chosen a better person to be their chair again. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Chris?
Through the mayor to Keith, just wondering if there's any Laurentian Valley specific statistics.
There is in monthly, but as far as patrons actually coming into the library, we don't have that because they aren't allowed in. They can phone in and make their request. But there are monthly statements that come out. I can get those for you if you wish.
I think it'd be good to see how many people from Laurentian Valley are using it. Thank you.
Will do.
Okay, thanks again, Keith. Chair Keith. Down to off-road vehicle update, Mark.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So this report is regarding off-road vehicles on township roads and a future update to our bylaw. On January 1st, the province did expand on-road opportunities for off-road vehicles in some parts of Ontario. This change does include Laurentian Valley, but it doesn't change what's happening with off-road vehicles on the roads that are under our jurisdiction at this time. The current bylaw does allow for off-road vehicles already on all roads that are under the township's jurisdiction. The County of Renfrew is also going through an update to their bylaw, and they just passed theirs at County Council last week, and there is a red line version that was included as part of this package, and theirs was just more some wording cleanup and not changes to roads or any restrictions. Back in July of 2020, the Ministry of Transportation also amended Regulation 31603, which expanded some of the on-road use for off-road vehicles, and this included various types of side-by-side, extreme terrain vehicles, or otherwise known as ARBOs. That's the term they use for them, and also some off-road motorcycles. As it's been almost 3 years since we've had a review of our off-road vehicle policy, or our bylaw, sorry, and there have been some changes, it's felt that it might be a good time for a review again. When last reviewed in 2018, as I had mentioned, Council did not wish to restrict off-road vehicles on any roads under the Township's jurisdiction. So if Council wishes to continue with that, it's just a matter of a bit of formatting and cleaning up some of the words to align with what the province has out now. If Council thought there were some roads that there should be some restrictions on, this could include restrictions to the roads altogether. It could be time of day usage, seasonal restrictions, limited rates of speed. Staff can review that, and we can provide some information back to Council at a later date.
Any comments from Council or questions? Debbie?
Thank you, Steve. I don't know, Mark, if you can answer this, but I'm just wondering, Highway 148, are ATVs allowed on that highway?
I believe so, yes. I didn't look at the MTO roads, but my understanding is they're allowed on 148.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, and then Alan.
Do we keep stats on complaints that come in? Do we know if there are any roads that we're getting more complaints than others and the reasons why, or is there a problem anywhere at all?
Yeah, I'll say for public works, really no complaints. We do get some that are, I'll say, in our remote areas that maybe the ATV has done a donut on a gravel road or something, but that's really, I'll say, not perhaps just an ATV issue. It could be a vehicle or a car or truck or something doing that as well. So no, not a whole lot of complaints, not directed to public works anyway. I'm not sure if there's anything administration wise that maybe Dean would be aware of, but nothing on our side.
Okay. And maybe I can just comment quickly too. No, we have really not received any, complaints one way or another with regards to ATVs on any of the roads in the previous kind of scenario. So I don't anticipate many here as well. I don't think we will be, as Mark's probably alluding to, is we'll be bringing a bylaw to acknowledge the new changes in legislation, and if council does have any concerns with any of the roads, then they need to be brought up so that we'll either have the discussion or exclude them from the bylaw.
16, Alan?
So it would be my suggestion that we don't limit them on any roads under the municipal jurisdiction, the same as we have been. And for the reasons that were just stated, there's no concerns that I've heard about ATVs on the road. It's one of the fastest growing leisure sports out there today. And to have these people get to the trails and be able to use these machines, it's just good for the economy all over. With the new Algonquin Trail, we're in a really good spot as far as where we are along that trail for overnight stays when people are allowed to use that trail coming from the north or coming from the east. So I would say we don't change access to any of our roads.
Okay. If no one else, then we'll let staff bring it back in a motion. Okay. Mark, pickup truck tender, please.
Yes, so second report is for the approval of tender LVPW 2021-01 for one new four-wheel drive pickup truck. Funds were approved in the 2021 capital budget for the purchase of a new truck that will replace a 2013 vehicle in our fleet. Tenders were requested by 12 automotive dealerships. The tender was called on January 4th and closed at 2 p.m. on January 28th. At the deadline, we did have 6 submissions, and there were no late submissions for this contract, as there was with our tandem plow truck late in 2020. Of the 6 bids received, the lowest submission was from Butler Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac Limited in the amount of $38,763 plus HST. The vehicle quoted does meet or exceed all minimum specifications outlined in the tender, and the vehicle would be a 2021 Chevrolet 1500. I think it's a Silverado is the vehicle. The expected delivery date is on or before April 2nd, which is acceptable for our department. As part of the tender, and we do this for a lot of our trucks and other equipment, we do include a provisional item for extended warranty. The dealership has offered 2 optional warranties. The standard warranty would be 3 years, 60,000 kilometers. The 2 that they've offered are a 5-year or 100,000 kilometer warranty at $1,877, or a 7-year, 140,000 kilometer warranty at $4,076. Typically, we don't purchase extended warranties for this class of vehicle. However, we did get some favorable pricing on the vehicle, and it is under considerably the $50,000 budgeted allotment. And it is suggested that possibly we look at the additional warranty for this vehicle. For this class of vehicle, we average about 21,000 kilometers per year. And being a 7 to 10 year lifespan, we could have potentially a full warranty on the vehicle for as long as it's within the township fleet. So it's aside from the normal wear parts, it could be potentially some substantial savings for the municipality. When comparing the vehicle and the provisional warranty for each submission, Butler was the lowest when you combine both. So even with the second and third and fourth bids, the combination of the warranty and the vehicle price were still were higher than what Butler had proposed. And we did have a tender opening held in the CAO's office, and with the restrictions, we did broadcast it virtually, and we did have one sales associate who participated in the virtual opening with us. So
Thanks,
open
Mark.
for questions or comments or discussions.
Yes, go ahead, Brian.
My question is, do we know what the normal maintenance is on a vehicle? So the warranty is coming in 7-year at $4,076. What would the normal maintenance in that time period be for the township?
I'd have to pull the file. I mean, really each vehicle is a little bit different depending on its usage. I'll say in the first few years, it is more just wear parts. It's getting into the warranty, things that we cover under warranty. And I'll use an example. We've had a couple of vehicles lately that are in that sort of 6, 7, and almost even beyond that now, but they're having electrical issues, issues with some of the heater components where maybe the fan won't turn on, and those types of things would be covered under this. And so we're, some of those repair costs, the vehicle could be in the shop for an entire day. And that's, not a cheap fix when you're maybe, $700 to $1,000 for a day or more. So we don't have it broken down specifically for vehicle, but it's, thinking it may potentially help in the long run.
Dean. Oh, go ahead, Brian. You had a follow up?
Yeah, I guess the other part is often on these warranties, not everything's covered for the entire time period too. So some of the bigger items aren't covered later on in the warranty as well. So I was just trying to compare whether the dollars were worth it or not.
Okay.
I guess maybe I can just add, Councillor Ugly. I guess I think for the purposes of the warranty, it's bumper to bumper warranty that we're purchasing, other than the fact that the wear parts, obviously the tires and stuff like that, are not going to be covered. The only other thing I'm going to add, just to make sure council's aware with regards to this vehicle, and as Mark mentioned, it depends on the use of the vehicle. This vehicle will be the Public Works manager's vehicle, so the wear and tear on it is not going to be as significant as if it was just just in the fleet and the guys who are using it just doesn't have that, ability to the uses is a little different. It's more of a patrol type vehicle as opposed to a work vehicle for at least 5 or 6 years till, 5 years or so until we get a new one. And then it would jump into the fleet for probably the last 2 or 3 or whatever amount of years left in its life cycle. So there's that too to consider.
So anybody else have any comments, Chris, please? And then Alan.
Just a question, Mark. Do you have an estimate of kilometers per year?
Yeah, so we did an average of all of our smaller vehicles, and our average is about 21,000. Now that being said, come October, November, a lot of the smaller vehicles don't really roll a lot because it's the plow trucks that are out. So if you were running the vehicle more often, it would be higher, but for the usage they get, it's just over 20,000 is our average for the pickup trucks in the fleet.
Alan.
I guess what you have to do is you have to look at it as if you were buying the vehicle yourself for your own personal use. And that's almost what it's going to be if you're basically only one driver on it. And I know all the vehicles I buy, I make sure and buy the extended warranty. With the electronics on vehicles today, if you get one that has some electronic problems, the cost of an extended warranty is pretty cheap.
Chris, you had another question?
It was just a question about like a fleet rental type of thing, but it doesn't apply for today. It's fine. I'll talk to Mark about it some other time.
Okay. So what's council want to go with the extended one? Chris, you get your hand up.
Yeah,
are you saying yes?
In the extended 5-year warranty, though, I think 5 years is good enough.
If we just get a consensus, then maybe a show of hands for 5 years.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're good.
Yep, all right, 5 years. Okay.
Okay, just for information, report on drinking water, not just for information.
Sorry, I did have a motion.
Oh, you got a motion for that.
Yeah,
That's
please.
right. First and seconder, Chris and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Plow, second by Councillor Ugly, that the committee and council recommends to council the tender, LVPW 2021-01 be awarded to Butler Shovel Buick GMC Cadillac Limited, Pembroke, Ontario, in the amount of $38,760 plus HST, and that the vehicle and that the vehicle be placed under a 5-year warranty.
All in favor? Carried. For information, we have the drinking water fourth quarter report with 0 adverse results. And then also we have the annual report, and don't know if anybody has any questions on either.
We have a motion for that as well.
Yep. Jennifer?
Sorry, motion.
Oh, Chris? Motion? Okay. Jennifer and Chris.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Plow, that council and committee recommend that council approve drinking water annual report 2020 as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, so I believe we're going to bring Nevada in. Hello, Nevada.
Hello. All right. I was given the task to come up with some sites for a possible Willow Ridge Park. It's, to my understanding, that residents have been approaching councillors and the mayor to inquire about the possibility of having a park in the Willow Ridge neighborhood and area. So I'm going to share my screen just to show you the sites. Are you seeing them?
Not yet.
Oh. Let's see here. Shit. Sorry. There. That should work.
Yes, starting. Okay. There we go.
All right. So in the Willow Ridge neighborhood, I guess, an area there, I found 6 sites that the township owns. So 4 of them are road allowances and 2 are just properties, that pieces of land that we own. As you can see, 5 of them back onto the Indian River. And then we have a little road allowance, number 6. So after doing site visits and inquiring and talking with Lori and Mark, our planner and our public works manager, we decided that the 2 options to consider would be site number 2. So that's right here. So this site offers, it's a little bit downhill here, but on this side, there's a bit of a flat terrain that might be worth exploring further. And then site 6. So this is a bit of a road allowance. We have an empty lot right here that's owned by the resident here. So it's not too close to homes. And a nice thing about this site is that it backs onto the trail, and this is potentially a future subdivision. So it could be a park that could serve both neighborhoods, if you look at it that way. So it was just preliminary research, and this is basically what I came up with. And I was wondering, does anyone have any questions?
Again, I can't, maybe we could stop by the screen sharing, Nevada?
Oh,
so I'll be able to see everybody?
Yep.
What's that? Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Sorry, Brian. Just one second. I just, before we get into this, I just wanted to, this came about, first of all, I believe Councillor Plow received a request. And then I also received a phone call from some of the neighbors I talked to a couple of years ago. And Dean met with these folks 2 years ago, and it was our understanding that a group was going to be formed and brought back to council. That was not what they thought it was, so that's why it's been brought forward now. And I told the residents that certainly Laurentian Valley would be interested if we can come up with a spot. And that's how this has started. So just want to let you know that where it all came back from and where we're going to move forward with it. Brian, go ahead, and then Keith, I believe.
When I was driving around looking at them, I guess my question is the vacant lot adjacent to number 4 site, there's quite a bit of flat land right in that area there. Who owns that land, and what's the purpose of that? It looks like it's pretty much locked around, and I thought as far as space and levelness, that wasn't a bad location there.
So, Laurie, I know you're going to respond, but again, we can't really throw out people's names who own it, but we can tell if it's residential or private landowner. Laurie, go ahead.
Yes, so just to speak to, because that may have been before Councillor Hootley's time on council. So the block that's off the end of Roy Street there, that was the block 13 that was part of the Boucher. We went to the OMB, but it's pre-approved for multi-residential use up to, I believe, 10 units.
Okay.
Keith, I believe you're next.
I was just going to say, I drove by each of them and had a look, and I thought number 6 would have been the better choice because of the topography on the number 2 lot. But I guess the other thing, the question is, number 2, was it not discussed before and the neighbor did not wish to have it located next door?
It was discussed. I'm not sure if Dean just had to step out for a minute, but if Dean had a conversation with the neighbor, but there was a discussion. Dean, did you have a discussion with the neighbor where we had potentially looked at a few years ago?
I did not have the discussion, but it was revealed back to us.
Yes. Okay.
I didn't personally have it, but there was some concern about.
Dean, you're muted
Yeah,
somehow.
you're going to say you're muted, Dean.
Sorry about that. So I didn't have the discussion personally, but the message did come back to council that the person was not really in favor of having the park there, and that was one of the conditions at council at the time. So we went down that route, and it never progressed anywhere from there. So that's what happened there.
But I think council has to revisit any spot within the subdivision, no matter where a park possibly does go, there's going to be some homes in the immediate area, and you know, we have to consider what's best for everybody within the subdivision. Alan?
So if behind lot 6 and across the railroad track, there's a potential future subdivision, where would the access for that subdivision be? Would it not be through where number 6 is? And would there be enough room for road allowance through there plus a park?
Maybe I can comment on that. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that is access there. Obviously, the trail's there, so we would be looking at that. The feeling right now was the fact that being the size of it, it's not going to be, I mean, it's going to be a fairly simple park, unfortunately, because of the size of the lot. I mean, we'd have a play structure there, possibly maybe a picnic table, something like that could be easily removed and maybe relocated on the other side when that further develops. If it does decide to go a road allowance across there, but as the trail is there, so that we would have to deal with that whole situation at that time. So it's just felt that, you know, it's not there yet, and I don't know how much into the future it is, but I felt that at least it would provide a need for and it would fix a need for now.
So basically, could the access to that subdivision wouldn't be off of Elgin then? It would be in through here.
Laurie, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have actually seen extensive concept plans for a future subdivision. So what we had seen in the past, and that was the Morglen Elgin Street subdivision concept, it was all coming off of Elgin Street, but we were just setting up the possibilities for if there was a redesign. But certainly, you know, there would be contemplation of bigger parkland because of the extent of the lands that are off of Elgin Street as that would evolve.
Okay.
Debbie, please.
Thank you. And I don't know if you can answer my question or not. I'm just trying to figure out, is there a whole neighborhood desire to have this park? I'm just trying to figure out if it's just a few folks, or is most of the people asking us? And again, no matter if we do it or even consider it, it's that wherever that park is located, everyone in that immediate neighborhood is going to have an opportunity to comment whether or not they're in favor of it as well. So I'm just trying to figure out, is this a groundswell? The whole community is looking for it, or is it a few people? I can't figure that out.
So maybe I can comment a little bit on it, and then Dean can follow up. I know there's something on Facebook right now that the last time I looked at was about 45, I think, residents. I can certainly acknowledge that 2 years ago, when I walked that neighborhood, there was an abundance of children in that neighborhood. And there was quite a few people that did speak to me asking about when and if we were going to get a park. So have we done a study with all the homes in the park? No. But I believe that there is a very strong indication that they would like a park in that neighborhood. Really, Stafford is the closest one that they have. I'm not sure how many homes there are in that household, but I think maybe some of the other councils might notice that as well when they did the canvassing 2 years ago. There seemed to be one or two small bikes in every driveway, and there seemed to be a child or two around each home. So I think I think there's a strong need for one there, and I believe there's a lot of people interested. Debbie?
Just supplementary, I couldn't agree more. There's all kinds of kids in that neighborhood, in particular on Fairview is where I noticed a lot of the younger children being. And I guess it's going to be really about their desire. If we identify a location that is, let's say, the Willow Lark area, that's up a piece from where I seem to see all the kids in the Fairview area, just so the desire to have a park and then the actual location of it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, certainly I agree with that, Debbie. I know that there was talk years ago, for example, in the Pleasant View area, that people were asking about a park, and council decided that there would be no park there because the accessibility to Pleasant View Park, which was a bit of a stroll as well. But I think more and more you see folks from that from Pleasant View area down at that park. So it's one park for that whole area. Now, the other thing that we have to decide on is if we have one of these properties, or we have a private landowner that wants to sell their lot or whatever, we need to decide on how big we want this park to be. And I believe we would have to have the taxpayers in that area input as to it's a fundraiser. It's not going to happen overnight. The climbing ladders that they have, or the swing sets, we need to decide on how much land we need and where the money is going to come from. But we need to start somewhere, and I think what we need tonight is a consensus from council to direct staff to move forward and investigate more of the two opportunities that Nevada has presented to us, and maybe come back with some more information. And if we determine that we do have a piece of property, then I can then contact the residents and ask them to form a group formally, or get some more input from them. I know some of the residents were to listen in tonight. I told them there was a discussion at council, but I'm sure we'll hear some comments tomorrow. Alan and Keith.
I can reiterate what Steve was saying when I canvassed that area back in the last election. There was a number of people that wanted a park in that area, and like Steve said, almost every house had kids' toys or kids playing, and there is a lot of people in that area that are looking for a park, and I agree with them. It's that subdivision. For them to go out of there and down Boundary Road to go over to Stafford, it's a bit much. I think we need to find something in there for the kids. I think we're long overdue.
Keith.
I did those comments of Alan and the mayor regarding the number of children in the neighborhood and whatever. And I do believe we should go ahead, but we should also meet with those people and see what they envision for this park as well, which will determine hopefully the size and whatever, and maybe some room for growth.
Good. Thanks, Keith. Brian?
I'm just going to say kids grow up quickly. If they're young kids now, it won't take long before they're past the park stage, and communities go through transitions. And if it's at that young stage now, it needs to happen fairly quickly and not 10 years from now.
Good. Okay. Chris?
Thank you. Well, I prefer number 2 over number 6. I guess we're not even at that stage yet. I did like the land that Brian was talking about, but Lori pretty much cleared that up with multi-residential. They're not going to want to give that up very easily. So I would think number 6 should be more like an entrance into the Algonquin Trail for either walkers, skiers, snowshoers, even motorized ATVs like Alan was talking about later, but just some sort of like official entrance onto that trail because everybody's backyard butts up to it. And it is fairly tight there going through with getting to that location, without an official type of entrance. So something like Mark has going onto the skating trail with the big Laurentian Valley thing on it and a couple tables to change your footwear or something like that. Anyway, there is a groundswell of support for a park in there. It's unfortunate that we took cash in lieu of parkland at that time for whatever reason. Hindsight's 2020 for sure, but we won't dwell on that. But a lot of good fundraisers in there too. Again, I keep bringing up this fundraising arm and not getting much response, but maybe a group in there would want to set up a fundraising thing. It wouldn't take me and a dedicated group. So we'll say it's a dedicated group. It wouldn't take them more than a year to raise enough funds for a small park in there. And in my opinion, what is needed is just a small little play structure somewhere for kids that aren't teenagers yet. So parents at home with really small children go there for the day type of thing and then walk back home, that kind of thing. So homeowners should rest at ease a little bit there, and maybe no lights, that kind of thing, so that, you know, it's a daylight only type of facility. But that's just my quick thoughts on it now. Maybe my recommendation or my question to you guys would be, why don't we just start with a survey of all the residents on those streets there in Nevada's thing and see what they have to say.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Certainly we'll direct this back to staff and look at, Dean, maybe you and I talked earlier about what our plan would be moving forth. I'll let you discuss that.
Just one clarification. The trail that we're talking about is not the Algonquin Trail. It's the CN line. So it's not a trail at this point, as we all know, it's under the jurisdiction of CN and at least technically to the Skidoo Club at this time, and I guess there is a sublease to ATVs, but it's not a trail. I just wanted to make that clarification. The second thing, the thought process that I discussed with the mayor was that possibly staff would look at the two that we have, 2 and 6, I guess, possibly invest a little bit of time and some money to get it at least not surveyed necessarily, but even laid out by kind of a surveying crew, I guess, not a legal surveying crew, but a crew that could at least give us a plot plan. And then at that point, we'd know how much land we have, and then possibly find out what the group wants as a structure or whatever they're anticipating, and see if we can plug that in there. Because a 2 does look bigger, but unfortunately the slope starts fairly quickly. It might be a touch bigger, but maybe not be a whole lot bigger of usable space. So we just got to evaluate. That's probably the next step in the evaluation process, is if council wants us to move forward with these 2, to take a quick summary look and get a little bit of legwork done on the actual properties themselves to see where we should head.
I'm just wondering if we should hold off on the survey until we know for sure that we have a suitable property. To go out and do a survey and then find out that we don't have a suitable property is going to not look very good, but it's up to council what you want to do.
Well, the thought process, I can just add to that, is we would do both, and maybe they're both feasible. And at that point, then maybe that's the time to go out to the residents to see exactly what they're after, or maybe they have a group together too. I don't know. Maybe it's an easy phone call, but I think we look at those 2, see their feasibility, and if they're not feasible, and if council feels that we should be looking at private ones, then we can try and do that as well. But at this point, these are the 2 under our jurisdiction.
Chris and then Alan.
Just to follow up on Dean, maybe there's not even 50% support for a park out of all those residents in there. So I think we should find that out first. And then Nevada, I guess, is going to head this up. So through Steve to Nevada, and Jen, I guess. I don't know if you guys have seen a modern idea or whatever, but there'll be like a couple pieces of exercise equipment in all 6 of those locations, so that somebody doing a small workout, like would walk or run between the pieces of equipment, do a little, do whatever the activity is at that piece, and then move on to the next one. So that kind of idea might work in a subdivision like this as well. So one piece of equipment just on a piece of grass. That's about it. It's about a 4x8 footprint.
Okay. Alan and then Charlene.
Should we be doing an inventory of any vacant property that's in the subdivision, and then finding out if there's any appetite for a property owner selling it, donating it for tax purposes or whatever? Should we not have that inventory done as well?
Nevada can comment on that.
Yeah, so I actually already did that. I went and I found all the vacant lots through our mapping system, and then I went and did a quick site visit of each one, took a picture. So I do have all that data. I just didn't know if I should. We wanted to present you the public properties tonight, but there are, including that bigger piece that's been talked about, there's 8 vacant lots in that neighborhood.
So we should find out what kind of appetite there is for that somebody maybe is looking to do something with that property, and there could be an opportunity there to, marry it up with one of these other 6 ones, and we could have a real nice park.
Brian?
The lot at number 6 there, there's some beautiful trees at the front of it, but they're actually on that neighbor's empty lot. And so if you look at the map, there's very little property that's owned by the township. Most of it is that adjoining lot. So when you're looking at it, it looks like there's usable area there, but there's not too much left when you
Again, I think to look at that lot, staff would have to find out from CN where the line is, because you're absolutely right. We're not sure how far back CN does own there. But again, that's going to be a staff job to look at that. Charlene and then Debbie.
I'm just wondering, with the recreation master plan RFP getting prepared kind of as we speak, and I think it's going to be ready to go out possibly by the end of this month, if we're better off waiting until that process is done so that the consultant, whoever gets that, gathers all that information from all of Laurentian Valley and not just one area, because it's going to be a repetitive kind of questionnaire. I know this is specific to this area, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you. Debbie?
Through you, I get where Charlene's coming from around the master plan, but I think that just a little bit more investigation for this area is warranted now. I would think that if we give direction to staff tonight to continue on investigating potential locations for a park in the Willow Ridge area, at the same time we can do a survey. I mean, we can do a Survey Monkey or something like that. So we're getting information at the same time. So we're at least moving this forward a bit. Just my thoughts. I don't see why we can't do both at the same time.
Well, if you decide you want the survey done, it's not going to take very hard to do that, because as soon as you tell a couple of the residents that I've been speaking to, they'll get on to wherever they have access for the survey and complete it, and they'll tell each of their neighbors. So if we want to go ahead with the survey at the same time that staff is looking at the various properties, whether they be owned by the township or owned by private landowners, we can certainly move in that direction. And I can certainly contact the folks that I've been with and let them know what we're doing. So is that council's consensus? That's how we'll go. Dean, you're good?
Well, I just want to get a bit of clarification here. So we can do the survey, and that's fine. Are we just doing that exact subdivision, so bordered by Elgin Street and bordered by the river and Boundary Road, and getting everybody within there? They're the only ones eligible, or are we asking the whole community whether they want to park there? So that's one question. And second one then is, we're moving forward with obtaining information on our properties, and does that mean expending some money on the actual lot plot plans, or are we going to be looking at the private ones as well before we go down that path and see if there's any? So there's a few things there. We need some direction, or we're going to be kind of coming back not the right information.
Debbie?
Thank you. From my perspective, I'd like to know how much money we're talking. I would like us to first focus in on what we have already, in case, if some of the property that we have is going to work, then that's excellent. We don't have to spend any money on buying any property. As far as asking who's interested, I mean, we can put do a Survey Monkey and just have people put in their addresses. I mean, quite honestly, I live on Hazley Bay Drive. I'm not going to comment on whether or not people in the, Fairview subdivision should have a park or not. It has no impact on me, but I would think anybody in that area, if they want to comment, they should comment.
Thanks, Debbie. Chris?
My opinion would be that I'd like to see the survey and the boundaries that Dean said, but unlike the Survey Monkey and everything, unless it's defined by roll number, access, or something like that, I'd prefer in this case just to see a mailed out survey with a self-addressed returned envelope just to those households, because they're the ones affected the most. And perhaps one of the questions could be, of these 6 locations. What do you prefer? And then a few questions on what type of park they would be looking for. And then we could lead from there. That would direct us roughly where to go while we wait on the master plan that Charlene was talking about. That would take you're probably a couple months in there at least.
Brian?
I think 6 options is probably too much to put it out. It'd be nice to narrow it down somewhat before you put it out to the community as a whole.
Well, I think we can scale it down. Unfortunately, we only have 2 of those 6. The other ones are not at all practical, so we're not going to be able to use. So we're only going to have 2 and 6.
So, Dean, how long would it take you to investigate those 2 properties and be able to report back to council? Are we talking a month?
Yeah, I would think by next committee meeting, we could probably get the plot plans laid out, as long as I can get somebody to do it. But yeah, assuming we can, we should be able to do that. Yeah, that should be a month or so.
Alan?
I would still say while we're at it that we should be checking the private property. Now it'd be quick to do, find out if there's any appetite on those private properties, yes or no, and then you could rule them out or rule them in. But 6 months down the road, somebody comes and says, well, you should ask me about my property, right? To me, it's not that big of a deal to find out if there's any appetite for the owners of that property and what that might be.
So I know we're kind of all over the map here, and I'd like to move forward with this. This has been going on for a while, and I'd like to hopefully see something happen this year. So it sounds like the consensus, and tell me if I'm wrong, but direct Dean to look at those 2 properties, do what you have to do for those, investigate the private land-owned lots, see if there's an appetite there. And can we not just put we could do a mail out, or how difficult it is just to put it on our website for people that are interested in seeing the park there, get them to comment on it. I think, Dan, if we get to a point where we have the land, then do the survey out to everybody in the neighborhood, as Chris recommended, written wise, and see, what do you want to see in the park? This is the size we have. Are you ready to volunteer with the committee that's going to get formed? But I think we just need to move forward quicker rather than, waiting another month for the master plan, and that's going to take a while. I'd like to see council give staff direction on finding out what piece of property is going to work here. So I kind of agree with what Alan has suggested. Let's find out all the chunks of land within the boundaries there. Who's to say that, people drive into Pleasant View or drive into Stafford or drive out to Alison Fraser. It's not limited just to people that live in the neighborhood. It should be used for anybody in Laurentian Valley. So can I get a show of hands as to where you want to go with my suggestion and Alan's, that we move forward right away and check out the properties and see what's available? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's start with that. As far as the survey is concerned, do you want to wait or do you want to do it now? Comments on that, Alan?
I would say we need to wait until we know what property we're talking about, right? Once we have the property, then we can go out with the survey. But once we've nailed down which properties there are, then people can actually go and have a look at them and give us feedback.
Okay. Dean, you're good?
Yeah, I think Reeve Robinson, she had a comment. I'm not
sorry,
sure.
David.
That's okay. I'm on the other side of Alan's comment. I think that we should just do the survey now as well. It can't hurt to find out what people think, but it's not going to make a huge difference one way or the other.
But we're going to have a report back within the month and then do the survey and go from there. Okay, we'll move forward. Thanks for everybody's input. Community Development Officer. Oh.
Steve, we forgot to do the 2 committee reports under
oh, I'm sorry.
Public Works. Waste Recovery.
Waste Recovery Center, really nothing to report. We haven't had a meeting since our budget passing. Upper Ottawa Valley CPAC. We had lots of OPP tonight information, so you're good, Jennifer. Okay, sorry, move down to Community Development Officer report. And Katie, we have you with us.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all again. So as you see here, there's just a formal report for the last 2 months, as we didn't have a committee meeting last January. So just a few things I'd like to bring to your attention. So with regards to our digital service squad, we were able to get 5 of the businesses to apply for the digital transformation grant. And we've received confirmation that 4 of them have received the grant of $2,500, which is really exciting news. 1 is still under review. So Stephanie's been working really hard in trying to engage with our business community, and we're really hoping to continue with that. Obviously, with the recent shutdown, it's created a few barriers that we're trying to navigate through, but we're looking to possibly extend her contract and rework that within the parameters of Digital Main Street. The website development is fully underway, and we're project managing the full content rewrite of our website. So it's a whole team effort. So everybody here of our staff is engaged and involved, and I'm really seeking everyone's help with regards to the content. So we're really trying to rework the content to write it in a way that is most accessible and informative for all of our users for our website. So it is deep underway, and we're on target to launch in April, May. A few other items to note is that we have partnered again with the town of Petawawa and the city of Pembroke with the service concierge, which this time will be a series of workshops based on kind of financial aspect of running a business. So those will take place in March. So it's again a great collaborative effort with 2 other local municipalities. And another item to note is that we have actually started radio advertising on a weekly basis with My FM. It's called the LV Spotlight. So every morning, Monday to Friday, after the 8 a.m. news at around 8:20, we have a 1-minute segment that will air every week, and the segment news and information will rotate every week. It's a really great way for us to broaden our scope and increase our communication mediums and relay information to those listeners and to our residents.
That's great, Katie. A lot of good work there. A lot of effort put into it. Any questions from council? Okay. Thanks again, Katie.
Thanks.
I'm just going to go back just for 1 second because I did miss a point regarding the park information. There was a petition put out at one point. I'm not sure if we have a copy here, but I was asked by a couple of residents I've spoken to in the last few weeks if they wanted a new petition or to expand the one they have. So that may help us in the next month, rather than the survey happening right away. They could continue with their petition looking for a park, and their addresses would be on there as well. So I'll contact those people for that as well. Under subcommittees, Friends of Disabled. Chris, you're muted, but.
Sorry, wrong computer. There is nothing to report, but their AGM is tomorrow, I believe. If anybody has something that they want me to bring forward, I can bring it up. Thank you.
Okay. See none. Shady Nook?
We had been meeting up to December, but with the stay-at-home order, our meetings January and the first one in February have been canceled. They're postponed, so nothing to report.
How's the rink working out?
Well, it's again, we haven't had a meeting, but yeah, the ice is there and it's coming.
Good. Brian, you had a question, or Chris, you had a question for Brian?
That was my question.
Okay. Allison Fraser.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Ice is going good there, though?
As far as I know.
Okay. Forrest Lee, guess not.
Nothing.
Pleasant View, nothing.
Pleasant View, nothing.
Jennifer Stafford. Is the ice getting used a fair amount, you know?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, it would be maybe good to contact, and maybe for the next council meeting, all the 3 groups that have the rink and see if there's things are going along well. I'm sure if there's any issues, they get through to Mark right away. And maybe my last question would be to Mark regarding skating trail. I know it opened last weekend or a weekend, 2 weekends ago now.
Yes,
Comment on it, Mark?
Yeah, we finally got open a week ago on Sunday. We estimated about 250 people for the first day and minus 20 temperatures, which wasn't bad. This last Sunday we were almost at 400, and it's surprising with our restrictions in place and when we're supervising on the weekends, how in previous years we thought we were so busy, and at one point we did peak out at the 100 users, and 100 people looks awfully small on the trail. So I think some of our previous estimations on the number of people that were there when we were sort of guesstimating were a little bit light, and I think we're realizing there's in previous years we've had a lot more people out than what we've thought. But no, the weekends are going well. I know I have messaged around about some assistance, and I've gotten back to a few people during the week. The Eventbrite that is set up is working well. Yesterday was a PA day, and the skating slots were already gone last week already for that. So it's the skating has been the hourly 25 per hour have been, and I'll say selling out, but not it's free to use, but they have all been they've been taken. So it's been quite good so far.
Good. Debbie, you had a question, comment?
Just wondering how the donation boxes are going.
Actually, for not having special events, donations are considerably high this year. So it's been very good. We have one in our sort of normal location. We have another one outside of the trailhead when people are walking in. So we only have the second one out on weekends because we're there and it's a little more congested. But no, donations are going quite well this year.
Wonderful. Mark, just pass on all your volunteers that got the rink started and are putting in so many hours with the skating trail, and it's such a different year, and as your numbers are up already, please pass on from council our appreciation of their efforts.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. Thank you.
Okay. We move down to Ree's report. We have Dr. Cushman's update. I don't know if anybody has any questions on it or comments, Debbie, or pretty self-explanatory.
It is. And if you have questions, I may or may not be able to answer them, but I can certainly get the answers if you need them. The other thing I'd just like to add, again, I just didn't have time to do a written report. January was pretty crazy, but as everyone knows, the county is hosting the 2022 Winter Games, and we're going to need probably upwards of 700 volunteers. So I do have a PDF that I will send out to everyone and listed the subcommittees that must be formed, and I believe there's 16 or 17 of those. So I'm going to send it to everyone. If you see a spot that you would be interested in volunteering, please let me know. Or if you have an idea of someone who in our community that may be interested, or anybody that you know in the county Renfrew that may be interested in helping in one of those committees, please just send me their names, and we'd really appreciate that. I think it's going to be a fantastic event, as long as COVID doesn't end up canceling on us in the last minute.
Thanks, Debbie. Move down to councillor comments. Any councillors have any comments tonight? Brian, waiting for that hand to go up.
I just like Councillor Plow has been throwing out some suggestions for fundraising for recreation, and I'd certainly like to support that. Anything that can be done that doesn't bear on the taxpayer is positive and should be investigated. So yeah, Chris, like seeing those things coming through.
Absolutely, Dean. I'll let you comment on that.
I'll let Reeve Robinson go first.
Oh, sorry.
I just had a question around that. Will the master plan look at the possibility or the need to create a fundraising arm for recreation for Laurentian Valley? I don't know if that is part of the parameters of our master recreation plan, because yes, Chris has been mentioning it frequently in the last 2 years, and we haven't done anything about it. And I totally agree with Brian. Anything that we can do to relieve the taxpayer, we should at least attempt to do so.
Okay, I don't really know. I mean, I guess we could incorporate it somewhere in the master plan. I'm not sure what that mandate would be, but we could certainly explore that. The one thing, this group would be nothing to do with council, just so we know. I mean, it has to be at arm's length at best away from council, which has always been the case. Council cannot be seen or involved in any of its activities. We can set up, we can help them, kind of give them some clerical help, but ultimately they have to obtain their own incorporation and their own charitable status. So we will, but what we will be doing is we've asked for the Petawawa has a group, as you might know, might or not know, Petawawa Civic Center group. It's basically an arm's length group that all the money that they raise goes strict back to the Civic Center property itself, nothing else in the community. But they were asking for their charter or their constitution, so we will get that. We will bring it forward to council to explain our findings. We do currently have a group in the community that does similar stuff like that, which we're all familiar with, the Allison Fraser Minor Sports Group. So that's there too. So if there's going to be a second one, they would be competing for their dollars, each of them. I know, so that's another thing we got to consider how that's going to materialize. So those are things that, yes, we are bringing forward. I have told Councillor Plow that we'll bring it forward. We just want to make sure we get the right information for council to kind of express its opinions when we bring it forward.
Chris?
So, Steve and Dean, the only issue with that is that I've requested it from Petawawa for the last 2 years and haven't gotten it because it needs updating and everything else. It may be another 2 years before you see it, or you may never see it. So I think maybe it's time to move on from Petawawa's and create our own, or ask other communities for theirs.
Point well taken. I have been in contact with an employee there, or the supervisor, I guess, the operations. And I emailed them again today to see if we can get it. If I haven't heard back, I will go to my colleague's CAO and see exactly if I cannot get it. But as I explained today, I don't care to get the updated one. We just want some basis as to, they've been through it, so why invent the wheel? We're going to have to go. There will have to be a lot of steps to hoop through to get this thing sorted out. So if they have that, why not trying to get their help anyway? So that's what we're doing.
And I think also, certainly I'm totally in favor of it, and I've been following Dean's emails with Chris lately. But we have to be sure that we already have one group within our municipality fundraising. So we will have to have a chat with that group and see where they stand, whether they're interested in more participation or whatever. So we will go down that path as well and report back to council. Chris?
I like that. That idea is awesome. So can we proceed with requesting if they want to change the name to all of Laurentian Valley and involve more people? That's really all we need to know.
Yeah. So Dean and I will look into that possibility and we'll get back to council on that. I think it should come from the mayor and from the CAO. With that group, and then we'll see where we go with it. But certainly it's not something we put aside this time, and we will get more information and get back to you guys. Alan?
So just so everybody knows that group is in partnership with Allison Fraser right now through the bingo side of things, right? So there is quite a bit of fundraising going to Allison Fraser through that group.
Okay, that's good. I didn't know that. Okay, any other councillor comments? Chris?
Sorry, just the last thing on that, to Dean's point, a councillor can sit on there as a director. So it's not like we influence or anything, but they can be part of that board as well, just like we're part of any other board.
But I guess the concern is that, well, the Petawawa group, and I don't know any further, Councillor Plow, but they cannot be representing council. It has to be an arm's length. So if they want to volunteer separately onto that board, that's fine. But they wouldn't be known as a councillor from Laurentian Valley. They'd be known as Chris Plow from Laurentian Valley.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. One other thing I've asked Dean to bring up to council is water and sewer update with the city of Pembroke.
Okay, so yeah, we did meet with Hampson as council asked for last meeting. Councillor Wren, the mayor, and Charlene and myself met with the Hampson group. I think we're on the right page. They'll start proceeding onwards to dissect the information that we did receive from the city of Pembroke. And as soon as we're prepared for that, we will be heading to request a meeting to start the negotiations. So they're on board, and I think we have a good plans to go forward.
Maybe just add to that, I would assume it's going to be probably a month to 6 weeks before we're ready. We got to give the consultants time. We just met with them this week, so we got to give them some time to do their background work on the full cost recovery from the city. And they've already told us they're going to have a bunch of questions that are going to be asked to be sent to the city to get answered before we can even begin to get into any type of negotiation. So it's going to be a long process. Hopefully, it certainly won't be smooth, but we might have some bumpy roads in it. But I'm still trying to be positive and hope that we can get to an agreement that's going to be fair to everybody. But we'll keep you updated, and certainly if any council member at any time hears something or wants to ask a question to either Dean or myself or Alan or Debbie that are on that committee, certainly come forward with it, and we'll keep you up to date as best we can in the meantime. Okay, Dean.
Just one more comment, I guess. I just want to know, we lost an employee, I guess a contractor that's been with the municipality for a long time, and I thought I'd let everybody know. Gord Trelinsky, who did a bunch of trapping work for us, and as Mark always said, went over and above the call of duty. He was doing our manholes sometimes because he'd clean them out for us too at times when he'd pass over them, I guess. But unfortunately, he passed away a couple of weeks ago. So certainly he will be missed by the township with his extensive work that he's done with regards to township over the many years. He was a character in his own right, and certainly was a joy to be around when you were asking him to do something. So I just want you to, we did send a card on the township's behalf, but just wanted to let council know.
Okay. Anything else? No, that's it. Adjournment, Dean.
Mover and a seconder, please.
Alan and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Watt, that the council and committee meeting of February 2nd, 2021 be adjourned at 7:20 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, folks. Stay safe.
Good night, all.